The Lamborghini Huracan is served from Sanagata, Bolognese, Italy. In this video, I will be going over the ins and outs of the Lamborghini Huracan, as well as talk about its general styling, reliability, and common problems that occur among consumers. The Lamborghini Huracan was released in 2014 and was set to replace Lamborghini's best-selling model, the Gallardo. The Huracan has been claimed to be a great value by critics and a great place to start when shopping for exotic cars. It has a lot to live up to, as the Gallardo came in at just over 14,000 units sold with various iterations. Throughout Lamborghini's history, the company has sold around 30,000 models. This means the Gallardo has accounted for a little under half of all models sold. However, the Huracan is rapidly chasing the 14,000 units sold mark, and it's about halfway through its life cycle. The Huracan has been in production for around 5 years, with various iterations of its own. The model being shown as the first iteration, the LP610-4. The nomenclature for the Huracan has a very significant meaning to it. The LP in LP610-4 stands for Longitudinale Posteriore. This means that the engine is longitudinally positioned behind the driver. The 610 stands for the car's metric horsepower, and the 4 stands for all-wheel drive. In rear-wheel drive models, it would be designated a 2 instead of a 4. Its starting price comes in at around $230,000 before options, which are not only plentiful, but when it comes to Lamborghini's in-house bespoke customization process, known as ad personam, the sky is the limit. But with all of this said and done, is the Huracan as great as the critics say it is? Does it live up to the Gallardo's namesake? I'm here to figure out why the critics and consumers consider the Huracan a great value for the money. The Huracan hangs among the best of the best, and all that gloat comes from a 5.2-liter naturally aspirated V10, which makes 602 horsepower and 413 pound-feet of torque. The power plant is connected to a 7-speed dual-clutch transmission. This propels the car from 0 to 60 in 3.2 seconds and 0 to 100 in 9.9 seconds. It speeds its way to a top speed of 202 miles per hour. Also, let's not forget to mention just how great the car sounds. To stop itself, the Huracan has 6-piston 14.93-inch Brembo brakes in the front, and 4-piston 13.9-inch Brembo brakes in the rear. Both brakes work in conjunction to bring the car to a stop from 62 in just 104 feet. In the front trunk, or frunk, the Huracan can hold about 3.5 cubic feet of cargo storage. There is a small amount of space behind the seat as well, but this isn't your typical car you get groceries with for obvious reasons. The Huracan weighs in with a curb weight of 3,423 pounds and a dry weight of 3,135 pounds. The paint color being shown is Verde Scandal, which is an ad personam color option, and only a handful of Huracans were painted in this color. It's a solid yellow-green, and it's quite a rare color on any Lamborghini. The Huracan looks lean, angular, and aggressive. It has a great mix between curvy lines and sharp angles. Lamborghini's signature styling can be seen throughout the car. This consists of sharp angles and 6-sided shapes. Wherever you look, even in the smallest of places, 6-sided shapes seem most prevalent. This is because 6 corresponds to carbon, which has an atomic number of 6. Lamborghini is known to use extensive amounts of carbon fiber throughout their vehicles, and they've even pioneered a new look for carbon fiber, called forged carbon. The use of 6-sided shapes is not a coincidence, and Lamborghini has acknowledged this in the past. There aren't a million different vents breaking up the lines of the car, and it's just a captivating and beautiful Italian design. It's clean, yet very bold. I personally believe it's one of the best styled cars available in the market today. The use of hexagonal shapes is continued throughout the interior. Everything is extremely driver focused, and just to look around the interior and you could immediately tell. The tightly bolstered seats, small rear window, and steeply raked windshield show that this car isn't something ordinary. In the portion between the driver and the passenger seat, you'll find the gear selection buttons. The buttons may look extremely odd, but they're easy to get used to. P obviously stands for park. The M button engages manual mode, which allows you to use the paddle shifters. Reverse is the lever which floats above the other buttons, and you pull back on it to engage reverse. To engage drive, you simply press the upshift paddle behind the steering wheel. and to engage neutral, you pull both paddles at the same time. Just above the gear selection buttons, you have your infotainment switches, which control different things in the gauge cluster. Being that the car is driver focused, there is no center screen, and all infotainment and car data is shown within the gauge cluster. This includes radio and Bluetooth functions, navigation, car data, and hands-free telephone functions. Lamborghini designed the setup this way so the driver never had to take their eyes too far away from the road. The steering wheel also has buttons on it which cycle through the gauge cluster looks. The middle rev counter, which is always most prominent, can also be changed to just a normal speedometer. You can also split the screen so that the gauges are on the left side and you have your media or navigation on the right. Or if you'd like, you can have the navigation take up the entirety of the screen for easier visibility. In the leftmost corner of the gauge cluster, you'll see your Bluetooth readout, stopwatch, trip info, and your fuel meter. Note that the fuel meter is in Italian instead of English. This is a recurring theme in the car. Since the car is Italian made, they left a lot of things in Italian to give it some character. On the rightmost corner of the gauge cluster, you'll see info regarding fuel consumption and your water temperature, which is read in Italian of course. Most of the car's info is read in the gauge cluster. The rest is read in a series of gauges which sit just above the center stack of buttons. 2 of the gauges are regarding oil, and the last one regards the battery. On the steering wheel, you'll see that a lot of things which are incorporated into stocks have been moved onto the steering wheel. This was made so that the driver never had to remove their hands from the steering wheel. This includes the buttons to switch the gauge cluster layout, the windshield wipers, and even the turn signals. On the bottom of the steering wheel is the car's active dynamic switch, known as anima. This means soul in Italian, and the button essentially changes the soul of the car, or its driving modes. The car comes with 3 driving modes. Strada, which means street, gives the car a softer ride, relaxes the shift times, and closes the exhaust valves to make the car quieter. Sport mode dials things up a bit. Shift times become quicker, the suspension becomes stiffer, and the car's exhaust valves open lower in the RPM range. And Corsa is full on track mode. It gives the car super quick shifts, makes the suspension super stiff, lets the exhaust valves always be open, and dials back traction and stability control. The Huracan has a very minimal amount of amenities in the interior. There is however a cup holder, which is seamlessly hidden into the trim, and a small center storage console. The Huracan comes with a 4-speaker audio system. Being that this is a mid-engine V10 supercar, most will tell you that the soundtrack coming from behind you is all you need. But for people who like to listen to music and cruise, this is an essential. I'll let you all have a listen to the music quality, and be the judge for yourselves. I've read from many sources that the audio quality sounds quite hollow and echoey, but when I was listening, I heard no problems. It wasn't good, but it wasn't bad either. Otherwise, the interior is absolutely beautiful. It keeps the theme of the exterior and brings it to the driver-focused interior. There are a few plastic bits here and there, which is not something you'd like to have in a $200,000+ car, but in later years, Lamborghini let customers replace these plastic bits with forged carbon. Everything seems so futuristic and foreign, and it's actually quite comfortable. The interior of the Huracan is unlike any other car on the road today. If I told you that a Lamborghini was reliable, would you believe me? Probably not, but in the case of the Huracan, it is. Lamborghinis may not be seen as reliable, but ever since Audi bought out Lamborghini in the early 2000s, their track record for reliability has significantly improved. A lot of people may dislike Audi's involvement in Lamborghini, saying that the Huracan is just an R8 with a different body shell, but that couldn't be farther from the case. You not only get Lamborghini styling, but Audi reliability and Audi parts, which don't cost an arm and a leg like true Lamborghini parts. I am by no means saying that every Huracan will be dead reliable, which so far, about 99% of people on forums claim that the Huracan has been nothing but dead reliable. The owner's son even tells me that they have beat this car down on the track several times, and it's never had a single issue. But I do understand that some people may have their own individual issues pop up. But always make sure to do a PPI before you buy a vehicle, and do your own research as well. Knowing what you get into before you buy a vehicle can always save you trouble and the hassle. Going into this review, I was more than excited to review this car. I've lusted after this car ever since it was unveiled, and I remember driving this car in Forza Horizon 2 when I was younger. This car is unlike any other too. What other brand built a mass-produced V10 supercar besides Lamborghini and Audi? It's unrivaled in its class, or so I believe. I was unfortunately unable to drive this car and do a full comprehensive review, but then again, I wouldn't trust myself either with a car like this, so I don't blame the owner at all. But, would I ever buy this car? Hell yes. If you had the funds, you'd be crazy not to have this car on your shopping list. I've always saw this car in my future, and with the Huracan Evo just being released, LP610 prices are creeping to around $160,000. This is an unbelievable deal and a great place to get started with supercars. But I've always been curious about Lamborghini reliability, but I've read from many forums that this is the car to get if you're scared about supercar maintenance or reliability. But if you're still scared about reliability, go with some boring German car like a 911. But if you want to have a big V10, crazy styling, and to look cool, go with the Huracan. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell notification if you'd like to see more videos like this one. But for now, I'll see you all next time.